Hello students, during the last few lectures we have discussed about cyclic permutation, permutations, transposition, etc. We have also calculated the product of two permutations. But now there is a little confusion because as I have told you, suppose I have A is related with B is related with A and C is related with C. Let us suppose I have taken this permutation and again I am writing that A is related with C, B is related with B, and C is related with A. Then I have told you that the product will be taken in this style. First we will check from this column. Here A is related with B and in second matrix B is related with B. So the result will be A is related with B. Again we will check on for B. Here B is related with A and A is related with C, so the result should be B is related with C. Again for C, C is related with C and here C is related with A, so the result will be C is related with A. I have told you this type of this pattern to find the product of two permutations, and this is given in two very standard textbook. These are both are foreigner textbook, and but today one student Prabhat, few minutes before, Prabhat has asked a question about this composition. He referred two textbooks. First is Galen and second is the book of Summary. They are very well popular textbook. In that textbook, this product is taken in reverse order. They are starting from right matrix. It means A is related with C and the C is related with C. So the result will be A is related with C. Again B is related with B and B is related with A. So the result will be B is related with A. And again C is related with A and A is related with B. So the result will be B is related with C is related with A and A is related with B. So C will be related with B. Now if I compare these two outputs, these are not equal. Here A is related with B and but in this case A is related with C. Because I have taken this problem from two standard textbook and today I have seen this type of product in different style, reverse style from two other standard textbook. So it is a matter of confusion. So I request you to please forget the last lecture about the multiplication of two permutations and please keep it on hold. I will make it clear from other standard textbook that what is the correct style to find the product of these two to find the product of these two permutations, which is the correct process. So I request you to please keep it in hold and we will discuss it in our next lecture. Please consider the previous lecture regarding the multiplication of two permutations until I clear it. Okay. So I hope you have understand what I want to say about the product of two permutations. I will make it clear tomorrow. So until I clear the how to find the product of two permutations, we will start a new topic which is subgroup. So we will discuss about subgroup. So before starting about subgroup, let us discuss something on group. Let us we have an G. G is a set and it is working. The elements of G is working on an user defined operator or given operator O. O may be any type of operator and suppose it has three elements A, B and C. Let us suppose we have three elements A, B and C. If this group G be a group, then it will satisfy four properties. First is closure, second is identity, third is inverse, and fourth is associativity. However, if it is a commutative group, then it will satisfy five properties, and the fifth property will be a commutative property. Now we are discussing on subgroup. If I take a subset from this G, let us I have a subset H which may be a proper or improper subset. This is from G. So let us I have this H and this H is H having only one or two or three elements. Let I am assuming that here the set H is consist con, consist only two elements A and B. So here G be a group and H is a subset of this group G. Now this H is said to be a subgroup of this G, is said to be a subgroup if it satisfies all four properties of this group G. It means if these three elements are fulfill all four properties of group, then these two elements will also fulfill the four properties of group. In this case, this subset H will also said to be a subgroup of Z. However, the composition will be same, will remain same as I have used for group Z. In group Z, we are taking the composition O. So for H, we will also take the composition O for H. So I hope you have understood that a part of a group G is said to be subgroup if it satisfies all properties related to a group, and the composition will be remain as it which we have used for a group. So the definition is a subset of a group G is called a subgroup if it is also a group. It means it satisfies four properties. Inducing the composition of group, it means you are using operator which we have used in group Z. So this H is said to be a subgroup. Now it is not necessary to check four properties for H. It is not required always to check all four properties for a subset of a group to prove that this group is a subgroup. This theorem is very important theorem, and this theorem states that the necessary and sufficient condition, it means converse will be also true. If you are proving a part, then only a part will be also true. This theorem states that the necessary and sufficient condition for a subset of a group to be a subgroup are, it means the subset of a group will be a subgroup if A belongs to H and B belongs to H. If you are taking two random elements from this set H, you are taking two random elements from this set H, and their composition is also in H. It means it satisfies closure property. And second is A belongs to H, then the inverse must hold. It means only you have to prove these two properties. First is closure property, and second is the inverse property. It means if we want to G be a group and we want to prove that its subset H is also a group, it means it is a subgroup of G, then we can show only two properties for this subset H. The first property is closure and second property is inverse property. Then we can say that this H will be a subgroup of G, that is it will be a group. So here we have no need to prove about the identity and associative property. So in next slide we will see the proof of this theorem. So let's discuss the proof of this theorem. First, we have assumed that H is a subgroup. H is a subgroup of G. It means it satisfies four properties. First is closure. The first property is closure. Second property is inverse property. Inverse. Third property is related to identity. And the fourth property is associativity. So these four properties will be also satisfied by this set H. So here we have assumed that H is a subgroup and we wish to show that these two properties, it means closure and inverse property, we will show. Because H is a subgroup, so it will hold these all four properties. So let's A and B are two elements of H, then their composition will also belongs to H because it is the closure property, and here we have assumed that H is a subgroup, so it will also satisfy the closure property. So A of B will also belongs to H. Second, A belongs to H, so and H is a subset of Z. So A belongs to H, and we have assumed that H is a subgroup. So it will follows inverse axiom. So the A inverse will also exist in Z. So A inverse will also exist in H. Sorry, it will exist in H because it will have, we have assumed here H is a subgroup, so it will satisfy 4 properties, and here I am writing 2 out of them. Now conversely, we will prove that if these two properties are satisfied for H, then it will be a subgroup. Now we will use these two properties only, and we will prove that it will be a subgroup. In first property, we have assumed that A belongs to H and B belongs to H, then their composition will also belongs to H, where A and B, these are arbitrary chosen variables, arbitrary taking variables from this set H. So the composition of every two elements is available in H. So this H satisfy closure property. So this first property is also a closure property. In second, this is also inverse property. In this property, it is stated that A belongs to H, then A inverse belongs to H, which is a inverse axiom. So we can write that inverse axiom is also satisfied. Now this is already given properties which I have discussed. Now we will prove this property in inverse axiom. As we have A belongs to H, so by second property, I can say that the inverse of that elements will also exist in H. So it will be true. If A belongs to H is true, then A inverse will belongs to H. It will be also true. And in first property, we have stated that the composition of every two elements is available in H. So A of A inverse, because these are two different elements, A and A inverse, these are two different elements, and their relation is such that A inverse is the inverse of A. But the composition of these two elements will also be available in H by first property, and we know that if we operate inverse on any element, then it will satisfy the identity axiom. It will give an identity. So E belongs to H. So here we have stated that E also belongs to H. So in identity axiom is also satisfied. Now we will discuss the associative property here. Let us suppose that three elements A, B and C, these three elements belongs to H. So we can write this single statement into two different statements, such as if A, B, C belongs to H, it means we can say that A and B belongs to H, and separately we can say that C belongs to H. Now we have decomposed this single statement into two statements. C belongs to H. The first statement is A comma B belongs to H and C belongs to H. If A comma B belongs to H, then by closure property, which is given by first, A of B will also belongs to H. This is a closure property. Now it will be considered as a single element because A composition of A and B will be equal to a new element. And here we have assumed that there is one more element C. Now we can compose this result on with this new element C. So we can say that A of B of C, this will be belongs to H. Okay, the A of B of C on C. Yes, this is C and this will be belongs to H. I am writing it again. A of B of C belongs to H. Okay, because H is the subset of Z, so therefore every element of H will also belongs to G. So because this is the element of H and every element of H will belongs to G, so A of B of C, it will also belongs to G, which I have written here by equation number 3. Similarly, again we are writing these elements in a different order. Here C, B, A belongs to H, Now this single statement will be written into two different statements. Here I am using A belongs to H and BC belongs to H. A belongs to H and BC belongs to H. Now the B and C, the composition of B of C, B and C will be also belongs to H. Now this is a different element. Now this is a different single element. Now we will decompose this and B of C. So A of B of C will also belongs to H. Again, as I have discussed for third, because A of B of C, this part, this is the subset of, this is the element of H, and H is the subset of G. So every element of G, H will belongs to G. Every element of subset H will belongs to G. So we can say that this part will also belongs to G. As I have written by third and written by fourth, this take it as 4. These two elements A of B of C, this belongs to G, and this part again belongs to G. Because the set G be a group, so this will be the associative property of a group, because for a group we know that A of B of C will also be equal to A of B of C. This is the property of associative property from group. Now because we have shown that this composition is belong to G and this composition is also belongs to G, but in case of a group we know that these two composition will be equal by associative property. So these two will be equal. So if we come here, A of B belongs to A of B of C belongs to H will be equal to A of B belongs to A of B of C belongs to H. So we can say that this set H will also satisfy the associative property. So these two properties means closure property and inverse property. These two properties are sufficient to be proved that a subset of a group G is also a subgroup. Let us take one more theorem based on subgroups. Theorem states that the intersection of two subsets of a group G is also a subgroup of G. It means if G be a group and we are taking two parts from this G, first part is H1, it is the subset of group G, and this H2, it is also a subset of G. Then we wish to show that their intersection H1 intersection H2, this will be also a subgroup. Intersection of two, this is not subset, this is subgroups. Please make it correct. The intersection of two subgroups of a group G is also a subgroup. Let us H1 is a subgroup of G and H2 is another subgroup of G, then their intersection will also be a subgroup. Now we wish to prove that this theorem. Before proving this theorem, I am writing a very standard result which will be proved in our next lecture. AB inverse. If AB inverse belongs to any set or subset, then that subset will be a subgroup, which will be our next theorem. So, and this is very important theorem, so I advise to student, please remember this conclusion or this result. So to prove this theorem, we have assumed that H1 and H2, these are two subgroups of a group G. Because these are two subgroups, so their intersection cannot be empty, because at least identity will be a common element. Because the identity, we know that in a set, in a group G or in a subgroup, in a group G, identity will be unique. So the identity of both subgroups will be always unique. So the intersection cannot be empty because it will consist of at least identity. Let there are two elements A and B which belongs to H1 intersection H2. So A and B both belongs to H1 H2. So we will write here this statement separately. A will belongs to H1 H2 and B will belongs to H1 H2. Now we can write this into a 4 part. A belongs to H1. From here I am taking, because A is belong belonging to the intersection of these two subsets, so A will belongs to H1 as well as H2, and in this part B belongs to H1 as well as B belongs to H2. So from here I am taking this part and this part separately. A belongs to H1 and B belongs to H1. I am writing it here separately. From second part, here A belongs to H2 and B belongs to H2. So I am writing here AB belongs to H2. As H1 be a subgroup, so the inverse of every element will also exist in H1. So if B belongs to H1, so B inverse will also belongs to H1. So A and B inverse, now these are two different elements, A comma B, these are two different elements and these are belonging to H1. Because H1 be a subgroup, so in our previous theorem we have understood that if there are two elements in a subgroup, then the closure property will also be satisfied. So I will write that A of B inverse will also be belongs to H1. So I can write it AB inverse belongs to H1. Similarly for this part we can write here AB inverse belongs to H2, because AB inverse is belonging to H1 as well as to H2. So it will be belongs to H1 and H2 both. So it will be available in their intersection. So AB inverse is available in the intersection of two subgroups. So this is the very important result as I have discussed here, and we will prove this in our next theorem. If we show that AB inverse is belonging to a set or subset, then that set will be a subgroup. So by using this theorem we can say that since AB inverse is belonging to H1 H2, so H1 H2 be a subgroup, because which I have used here, this is the necessary and sufficient conditions to prove that a subgroup be a group or a set is a subgroup. So I will discuss this theorem in our next lecture, but before discussing this theorem in next lecture we will discuss we will recall or rectify the problems of the multiplication of permutations. Thank you.